Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. A while ago I discussed already this, my Ewok village, and you can see Luke is there with Wicket and the rest of them. But I just thought I would actually take this opportunity to talk about my other sort of Endor related stuff, and that being the speeder bike. Now, this is really cool. This Kenner original has actually been to Endor itself. Last Star Wars Day, I showed pictures of how I actually took this speeder bike to the Redwoods of California, and I actually managed to do some funny poses with these guys, and I just thought I better actually showcase the speeder bike itself. And, as per usual, given that we're talking sort of toy stuff, I've got my Stormtrooper whiskey glass standing by. Why the Stormtrooper whiskey, you ask? Well, for those of you who don't understand the Star Wars collecting world, there's a big problem on YouTube, or at least there used to be, where COPPA, which is out to protect kids, was making sure anybody talking about toy stuff on YouTube marked their stuff as kid-friendly. And in order for me to specify, my stuff is not necessarily kid-friendly. It's kid-adjacent, but not intended for kids. I'm actually having some whiskey to differentiate that. So, bottoms up, and as I've said before, we would be honored if you would join us. Okay, so let's just set that to the side. Now then, my speeder bike. This was my original, bought in '84, I think. And as mentioned, it has been to Endor itself. Really, really cool. This little guy as well. The speeder bike, I thought when I saw this on film, there is no way they're going to make a toy of this. It's really, really thin, and there's hardly anything to the speeder bike at all. And I just thought, well, I mean, in the movie, it kind of just hovers, and characters jump on board and all that stuff. But how are you actually going to do that as a toy? Brilliance on behalf of the Kenner engineers. What they decided was to kind of make these little footrests in the movie. These are just little tiny places where the driver can put his feet. And they decided to actually spring load those and make them actually a thing that allows the speeder bike to stand on its own. Yeah, just like that. Like it's actually just standing in its sort of own natural position, which is really good. It is slightly big. Like here is the speeder bike, or speeder trooper, whatever his name was. I think in the movie, I don't think the bikes were that large. Like his entire body is, just this section alone is larger than the figure's body. So I don't think the scale is quite right, but you know what? I'll still give it to them. They made a fairly impossible toy into a toy. One real stroke of genius that I found was the fact that they got these little handlebars here, which are adjustable. It's a little bit finicky to have to deal with, but the fact that they made this little rising T-mold or T-bar thing, that's actually really handy. So that way, basically, you just have to get your not very articulated Star Wars action figure, lift up that T-bar, and slide them in, and it holds him in place, and then all you got to do is just line up the handlebars with his hands, and you got yourself a fairly accurate and certainly quite functional speeder bike going through the forest of Endor. Really, really cool. One particular element of the speeder bike in the films that I don't understand, and it's in this toy, is the fact that there is a blaster underneath here, like an actual little gun, and it turns. And I find that a little weird, because I would think anything that's kind of mounted on the front of a vehicle, you don't want it to actually turn. You're going to want to steer your vehicle as a way to target whatever it is you're shooting at. But in the movie, in addition to actually seeing this little gun getting fired, it almost looks like there's a little bit of ability to steer the shots, because they do slightly turn from the direction of the front of the bike, so I guess that's screen accurate, but I wouldn't have thought that was very practical. Still, that's there too, pretty accurate. Now, collectors of this toy are going to point out there is a way to recreate the scene where the biker scout on his speeder bike can actually collide with a tree stump and explode, just like in the movie. Well, of course, that's really cool. That's really cool for the movie, and they do have that functionality built into the bike itself, the actual toy here. There is a little button back here that you can press, and whenever you hit the button and it hits something, the whole thing blows apart. But I have actually disabled that feature because it can be nothing but a pain in the butt. You see how I've actually got some thread strung around my speeder bike? It goes all the way around there and underneath. That was because this thing is sort of under pressure. You can actually make it out. It's sort of under pressure there. And to release that catch is going to be a lot of work to have to put back together, but it does have the capability. Basically, you press that button, the front is just wedged in there, it can fly off, and then this thing springs out as well. But I just decided, you know what, I don't really want to lose any of my parts, especially when I was on Endor itself, so I strapped all that down, so you won't see that function here. Yeah, you can see it really wants to let go. I'm trying to get it to click back into place, and it really wants to explode, but not going to happen today, buddy. But that's not all. Literally, that's not all, because I have multiple of these speeder bikes still in their original packaging from my final days living in the UK. I was in some toy shop or hobby store or whatever, 87, 88, something like that. There was an era, believe it or not, kids, there was an era where Star Wars collectibles just weren't that collectible anymore. And here's a good indication. These were all going for £1.90, which is maybe $3 Canadian, something like that. And by today's standards, to get a speeder bike complete in box, these have never been opened. Still got the original seal on them. To get one of those now is about $100. So, I mean, loose, they're not that valuable. They do have, they're a fairly common toy in a lot of places, that, you know, collector's fairs, that kind of thing. But complete in box like these guys, yeah, you're talking maybe $100. So to go from £1.90, can you make it up? Yeah, £1.90 to somewhere in the region of $100 is pretty impressive to have gone through. That's a sign of the times. You know, when I got these, Star Wars just wasn't all that appealing anymore, and so they were fire sailing, getting them out of there. And now I've got several of them. Anyway, so cheers to the speeder bike. He's been to Endor. We've had a lot of fun together, and I just wanted to showcase him. So until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.